think training is a big issue. You know, in the industry, if you speak to a dealer, the first thing he says to you, but training is an OEM thing. And I'm saying, guys, OEMs actually manufacture cars. They don't sell cars. They'll tell you all the technical jargon, and they'll have great at that, but they actually do not engage with customers. Because I think, you know, we've got poor salespeople at the moment through lack of training, and I think dealerships have got to spend more money on training, on proper training, sales training rather than OEM training. I think salespeople at the moment don't qualify customers correctly, in my view. And if you talk to most dealers, salesman guy walks up and that's the car they try and sell it. They don't actually sit down and qualify a customer. And I think we've got to go back to that and say, what can the customer afford? And selling the product. And I'm sure that sometimes sales are lost because of poor qualification. And I think we get that right. I'm not saying it's going to change tremendously, but at least you can justify that, listen, this is the market and this is where, because when dealers go to these conferences with the OEMs tell them about their brand and how it's selling and all that. But dealers have done very little to sort of say, hang on, this is not the facts, these are the facts. So I think more science has got to come into, for them to argue their point why they can't sell these expensive cars. Dealers get a lot of leads. And our conversion ratio is very, very poor. And we've got to educate the salespeople to say, listen, when you get those leads, you've got to work them. You can't just think there are more leads. Because the first thing a dealer will say, I want more leads. But I'm saying, there's only leads, so many people in the market. You've got to get your salespeople to actually work the salesman. And we've got to now say to ourselves, how do we work these leads better? Train our people to work it, because nobody gives information if they're not a potential buyer. Now, the second problem, our throughput per salesman, and we can argue about it, it's probably 4 or 5 units. Now, the cost of the guy and the throughput doesn't justify. We've got to get those salespeople throughput to 7, 8. Now, you can only do that through training, monitoring, all those, bring those measurements in place. And you've got those systems like CMS and all that do it. But you've got to sit down and look at those facts and say, geez, we've got to train this guy better, because there are measurements you can use to see, are the guys productive? We've got to get productivity for salespeople up. We can't just employ more salespeople. Remember, he gets a car, petrol and all that. And a salesman, in my mind today, probably cost you 20, 30,000. You know, if you take petrol, car, his salary and all those kind of things. And I think that's a big issue that the dealers have got to fight. They say, how do I get my productivity up on salespeople?